A blessed Sabbath and a blessed new moon, the first day of the 8th-month Sheshvan. We will continue with Judgment of the Living, which is in the fourth section. We left when we were talking about Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1, for us to recap and find out how we continue from that chapter. Let's read it again in Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1.
Isaiah 33, verse 1.
Yes. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1.
Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled.
Right.
And when thou shalt make an end to the deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee.
We had seen before that God had promised that the hedge which he had put on Isaiah chapter 5, he had put a hedge on his vineyard. And then that hedge, when it is removed, God will no longer nourish that vineyard anymore. Not even to receive any later rain on that vineyard anymore. Why? Because God said, when he came in Isaiah chapter 5, if you forgot that chapter, just go from verse 1 up to 7, you find, when he came to this vineyard, at the end, in the harvest, he found the vineyard, instead of producing good grapes, the vineyard went to wild grapes, and God did not find anything to harvest from that vineyard. So now he says, they were busy spoiling. Spoiling means they were getting converts from other places, everywhere. Converts were coming. It was an effort to fill up all the house of God. Converts coming with efforts, with everything, meetings, witnessing programs, everything. Converts, that is the spoiling that the house was doing. But now he's saying, woe then to thee that spoileth. Spoileth meaning you were collecting loads of converts. You see, the house of God has got plenty converts. But when God came to inspect those, the people who were filling the house of God, instead in the harvest, he found wild grapes. Why? Because the house of God did not proceed to the fourth angel's message and to the fifth angel's message. It just went up to the third angel's message. And that third angel's message are not messages of harvest. They are not, because when you go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, it's where the call of the third angel heard. It was just a warning not to worship the beast. But verse 14 up to 17, these were two harvest messages which, when God was coming to harvest, found, instead of finding good grapes, God found wild grapes. So God said, I'm angry. I'm going to remove the hedge around you, the vine of God. Now, that's why he's giving a warning in Isaiah chapter 33, verse 1, saying, woe to thee that spoileth. Yeah? And thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shall cease to spoil. Yeah? That is, when the light quits coming, because he had promised the light will stop coming. He will stop nourishing the house of God some way, because they did not continue with the fourth and fifth angel's message. So that when that stops, you remember even the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 foolish did not proceed to have extra light. This is what God is saying. You did not go to the extra light to top up the vessels that were empty of oil. So because he did not do that, God is saying he's not going to feed the 5 foolish virgins, but instead he will seek to progress with the 5 wise ones. So this is why we are here, to see how then does he proceed to deal with the 5 wise ones, which we term the judgment of the living. So the judgment of the living was received by a sect of 5 wise virgins. Instead, the 5 foolish had their heads taken off because they did not proceed with the light. Do you get the story there? I'm trying to simplify it so you can understand Isaiah chapter 33, where he says, woe to him that spoileth. Why? The spoiler. Spoiling what was? You were taking converts from everywhere, coming there. So that is the meaning of the spoil. And then you stopped to progress with these converts to the 4th angel's message and the 5th. You went up to the 3rd. So now God is going to have the judgment of the living with the rest, with another half of them which went ahead with the judgment of the living. So now let's read. We'll find how then does he proceed. Yeah? How does he proceed with judgment of the living? Down there you find we are reading from L4, page 9 and 33. But we are going to read from the verse Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. Start from verse 4. We'll see then, why does he need at this time someone to proceed with the 5 wise ones who continue now with God? Let's hear. Malachi chapter 4, verse 4.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet,
right,
before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right. Saying that they are stuck on the 3rd. God is saying, who then is going to finish the judgment of the living? Then he finds somebody in a similar situation when Israel of old were stuck, not moving forward. God made sure there was Elijah the Tishbite who went to Ahab. Ahab, who was the ruler of Israel at that time. They were now stuck without even any commandments or any statutes. All that had been abolished. So he raised Elijah the prophet at that time. So in a similar situation at our time, when those who were progressing, who were his vineyard for this time, they were progressing up to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, and the 3rd angel's message. They're stuck. They don't want to finish the chapter to go to verse 14 and to verse 14 up to 18. They don't want to go there, and such that we get 5 angels' messages instead. So he raises somebody called Elijah. He says, remember the law of Moses, which I gave in Horeb, which is Mount Sinai, with the statutes and judgments. So the same message he gave Elijah the Tishbite when Israel did not proceed with the statutes, now is the same law that he gives Elijah of this time with the statutes and judgments to proceed to the vine where the hedge has been taken off. Instead, what has happened to the vine? The vine is now full of briars and thorns. Did you understand Isaiah chapter 5 properly? Now let's hear in the next verse there.
Malachi.
Yeah.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet,
right,
before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right. So the great and dreadful day is hastening and coming nearer and nearer each day. But God has one solution for the vineyard. When the hedge has been removed, he now calls for a reformation through Elijah the prophet of this time to send this Elijah with the same message which was avoided by the vine, which was stuck at Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, when Sister White was preaching the 3rd angel's message. When she died in 1915, they did not even have another messenger to come and top up what Sister White had. Even Sister White had seen another messenger coming in early writing, page 277. Another messenger coming with a message to unite with the 3rd. But they stopped without that other message. So instead, God raises Elijah for the 4th and the 5th angel's message to come now and make sure the 5 wise virgins go through a period of judgment for the living. Do you get that, brethren? So you see, why we should have a sealing process. The sealing program is done through the ministry of Elijah the prophet. After the hedge has been removed in Isaiah chapter 5 verse 5 to 6, it says, I will remove the hedge now because you produced wild grapes, briars and thorns all full in the vineyard. So God raises Elijah the prophet with the message of the judgment and the statutes. What are the statutes? The feasts, the festivals, which had been changed also in the Dark Ages together with the Sabbath, which was changed. The Ten Commandments were changed. So the same messages that had been tampered with in the Dark Ages, he now collects them to Elijah the prophet in our time. Why? Because no one in the vine of God, in the vine where God's vine is, no one is able to proceed to the festivals. They don't want to proceed to the fourth and the fifth angel's message. So Elijah will make sure the 5 wise virgins proceed and go through what is called judgment of the living. So this is how God will select the very honest ones who are still in the vine, in God's vine, who have not bowed their knee to bow. They will be collected and proceed with the judgment of the living under the ministry of Elijah the prophet. Do you understand how the reformation has to go about? Right. So let's hear what happens in that message. Elijah, Malachi chapter 4 verse 45, it says, I will send before the great dreadful day of the Lord. So what about verse 6? Yeah, verse 6.
And he shall turn the heart of the
So
fathers.
what will Elijah now do? Elijah will turn the heart of the fathers. The fathers are God in heaven. It's the only one called Father. And the hearts of the children is us now. So he will connect, the relationship now comes back as it was meant to be for Israel and God. So Elijah does that work to make sure he reconciles the father and the children. Did you hear that? Now, but want to understand more of it. Let's hear Sister White. Does she actually promise that this was going to happen? Are we still expecting somebody from the vineyard to come and seal those who are in God's vineyard, who have not bowed their knee to bow? Let's hear testimonies to ministers, page 475. Yeah? Let heaven guide.
Let heaven guide.
Mm-hmm.
Prophecy must be fulfilled.
Which prophecy? Malachi chapter 4, verse 4 to 6. It should be fulfilled. Let's hear. Mm-hmm.
The Lord says, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right?
Somebody is to come.
Someone. When you hear somebody, it's not a group of people. There is a person, a prophet is to come. Sister White confirms that somebody is to come. Listen to that.
Somebody is to come in the spirit and the power of Elijah.
Right.
And when he appears, men may say, You are too earnest. You do not interpret the scriptures in the proper way.
Right.
Let me tell you how to preach your message.
So there is a messenger who will appear, only sent for the 5 wise virgins, so that they go through the judgment of the living. But the message of the judgment of the living now is the statutes and judgments being topped to the messages that we were continuing, the commandments, the testimonies, and now we have the statutes and judgments coming with Elijah to top it, to be the very syllabus for those who are going through judgment of the living. Did you understand now? Let's hear. Go to General Conference Special 1954 edition, 1954 edition, page 6,7. Let's hear.
However,
listen to that.
I would remind you,
I want to
brethren,
remind you what does the Spirit of prophet say?
that no prophet of
Right.
God has ever been welcomed by the church.
Did you hear the warning when Elijah is sent in our day? The warning from this Spirit of prophecy says, however, I would remind you, brethren, that no prophet of God has ever been welcomed by the church. Go to the time when Christ came. The people who actually rejected him were his own. Those who were outside, those who were Samaritans everywhere, who were outside his own, they never rejected Christ. He gave him an ear. That's why they were flocking after him every time he was preaching. But who rejected Christ? His own. So here we are being told that there is never a prophet who was accepted by the church. If you see them calling you and saying, come, you are the only one who we approve you. You are the only one we have approved to preach to us. Know for sure you are not the right prophet. Because this is predicted by Sister White that somebody is to come in the spirit and power of Elijah. And this is also further done in the next quotation from the Spirit of Prophets in General Conference Special 1954 edition, page 6 and 7. It says, never any church, any period, they've never accepted any prophet. So are you expecting a prophet who the church is going to, lift up and say, yeah, we have got him, we've got him? That time won't come. That time won't come because the Spirit of Prophets confirms it. Never has any church accepted a prophet in any period. Why? Because it's the voice of God. So most of the time you find the prophets will utter from elsewhere. John the Baptist was in the wilderness. Why? Because no one would accept him. Jeremiah, Isaiah. That's why prophets were killed. Why? Because no church would accept them. But I don't know those who break of being accepted, whether they are prophet of God or prophets of Baal. Never in any period the Spirit of Prophets gives us a warning. Let's hear more.
For this very reason,
right?
We must remember that when the last prophet comes, he will have the greatest opposition to meet.
Right. So when the prophets had been rejected in the past, know for surety the last one who comes before the great and dreadful day will have the greatest opposition ever come to a human being. Is that true? So we're expecting somebody like that. We have a greatest opposition more than all other prophets who have been rejected. This is what the Spirit of Prophets warns us. Right? Let's go.
For this very reason, we must remember that when the last prophet comes, he will have the greatest opposition to meet. For Satan well knows that if he loses now, he loses forever.
So, if you are raised and say, I've been raised to preach the last message of the hour, the very first sign and symptom is your rejection, the greatest opposition ever. If you say, they like me, they have even sent me there to preach. No, for sure, one thing is sure, you're preaching lies. You are not preaching the truth. Two, the next thing you should know is that you are not the prophet of the hour. Because the prophet of the hour, the Spirit of Prophecy confirms will get the greatest opposition a prophet has ever had. So we won't find that prophet in these walls of the churches that we love. We want. Otherwise, he will be the prophet, he or she will be found elsewhere, trying to give the message to the people where he has been sent or where she has been sent, while the gates of the churches are locked for the prophet not to enter. So you do yourself a favor when you find places like social media or places like literature or where you find the message from that great prophet. Otherwise, if you confine yourself to the wall has blocked the gates so that the prophet of the last has the greatest opposition not to even introduce anything to your church. That's why the churches are left in darkness without it, because the key is there at the door. Is key. The key is only unlocking anyone who comes who have nothing to do with Elijah's message. But when you have Elijah's message, the key is there for you not to come in. This is what the Spirit of Prophets confirms. It's in black and white. Now read on this here. Yeah.
For this very reason, we must remember that when the last prophet comes,
right,
he will have the greatest opposition to meet.
Right.
What makes Elijah's work especially hard is that Christendom has long been drilled in the idea that no prophet is to come, that there is no necessity for one.
The thing that makes this so worse is that Christendom has been grilled, that there is no more light to come. There's no more message to come. And at the same time, they say we are in the sealing process. Who is then being sent by God for that process of sealing? Some who are rejecting, who are they listening to? So you see, when the sealing process occurs, there are two mouths, people speaking to the same people, to the same house of God. One is talking of something and the other is opposing. And people choose where to go. This is how it happens.
Yeah.
So who are we listening to during the sealing process? And who are we rejecting? So this is how it will go. When the worst thing is that we have been brought up being told that 1915 ended everything from prophets. No more prophets. And there are some who proceeded with the Brother Pt4 up to the year he died, which is 1955 in February. After that year, they couldn't accept the next prophet, which was Ben Roden, with the branch message. They can't accept it. Why? Because they have also been grilled to say, whatever and whatever and whatever alone, no more any other. And those who went further with Brother Roden, Brother Roden and Sister Roden, they are all laid to rest. But who is this prophet that God will raise? Because all them that wrote the 5 angels' message are in the grave. So then who then are we to listen to when we know William Miller is in the grave, Sister White is in the grave, Brother Pt4 is in the grave, Brother Ben Roden is in the grave, and Sister Lois is in the grave. All the 5 angels' messages, the writers are in the grave. Who then is going to be taken by God to bring all these 5 angels' messages to the people so that they are sealed? Who is that? That's the very prophet we should be centering our minds to make sure that prophet is accepted. And God is so intelligent. He will make sure the prophet does not come in the way which is pleasing to us, does not come in the way we think the prophet should come, does not come also in the gender we expect the prophet should come, so that he tests your mind and our mind, so that to see whether we want the message or we are scrutinizing the messenger. Because there are two people listening to any message. One is only scrutinizing the message. The other is listening carefully to the message. And God says his sheep will know his voice. They don't care about the messenger. They care about the voice which comes from the messenger, to see if it is the voice of God. That's all. You see, there's one verse I'm interested in. Go to the Bible. I think it's John 7, verse 17, if I'm not mistaken. Listen to what is a proper guide. 7, verse 17, if I'm not mistaken. I love that verse. Now read it. Let's hear that verse. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
If any man will do his will,
right,
he shall know of the doctrine,
right,
whether it be of God or
right,
whether I speak of myself.
That's a secret to those who are looking for the truth. If anyone wants to do the right thing, that person will know for sure of the doctrine. When you listen to a message, the message alone has got the credential to show you in your heart that this message comes from God. Never mind the gender. It's the message which should convict you to say this one is from God. Because the God's sheep will only discern the voice. They have nothing to do with the outward, whether it's a female or it's a male. They have nothing to do with that. They only worry about the voice. If there is anyone who wants the truth, to say which one then is the prophet, the message only will show you who the prophet is. So don't worry about these arguments. Can a woman do this? Can a man do this? Can a what? The only thing you should worry about is, did the voice of this message convict me that it was coming from God? Then there you are, warm and dry. Now let's hear, finish that paragraph that we were reading from General Conference, Special 1954 edition. Have you finished it? The worst thing, he says, it ended saying, the worst thing that will make Elijah's message so hard is that Christendom has been drilled over and over again that there's no prophet, no more prophet. Everywhere, check everywhere, go and find out. Knock at the doors of any church and find out if there's a prophet. So it's correct, Christendom has been told there's no prophet, but we are told clearly from the Bible that God is going to raise Elijah. Somebody is to come in the spirit and power of Elijah. And when that person comes, we'll get the worst opposition, greatest opposition, where in the doors where people are uniting to worship God, they will be telling that person that we have no more prophets. Sorry, no more prophets, no more prophets. But let me tell you one thing. When God has promised through Malachi chapter 4 verse 4 to 5 and Testimonies to Ministers, page 475, he has actually told you the truth. There is a prophet. If there's still a pastor and still an evangelist and still a teachers and still all other talents found in 1 Chronicles chapter 12 verse 20, Corinthians chapter 12 verse 28, if these talents are still there everywhere, then the talent of a prophet is there. It only means you should use your brain to say, then if we are saying there's no more prophet, then it means we are saying there's no more pastors, there's no more evangelists, there's no more apostles, there's no. Why is it we are accepting these other talents that they're still there, and then the talent of a prophet is not there? Don't you see it's the devil? The devil won't be idle to say the message, the very last message of mercy coming to you to steal you. You think the devil will be clapping hands and saying, yes, yes, yes. The devil will incite the bodies of the churches to say there's no more prophets. To say the prophet who died in 1915 is the last one. That's the devil. If it was possible, he can deceive the whole lot, even the very elect. But then God sends Elijah in our time and only descend from the voice, not from what you see, and not from the voice should be coming from God, only to make sure he works out salvation from people genuinely, not hypocrites who come because they have seen the gender, they have seen the background, they have seen it, so they will agree because of what they have seen. But God will make sure those who agree are spiritually led in their conviction. Did you get that? Now let's hear from the same chapter on page 7 of the General Conference Special 1954 edition, page 6 to 7. The next paragraph, in paragraph 7, there is page 7. It says, it is therefore, listen to that.
It is therefore only to be expected that the predicted Elijah will be denounced as a false prophet.
Right. The very first, we have got signs to look for Elijah.
Yeah.
The very first sign we said is because that person will be, almost everyone will oppose that person. Will have the greatest opposition ever. That's the very first sign. One, the message we have been told, Malachi chapter 4 verse 4 said it is the statutes and judgments. Finish. Anyone coming to you without statutes and judgment is a false prophet. Let me tell you one thing. In the message of the hour should be having the judgment, the message of the kingdom. This gospel of the kingdom, Matthew 24 verse 14. This gospel of this kingdom, what kingdom? The statutes and judgments which are going to be the pillars of the kingdom shall be preached in everywhere for a witness, so that everybody is judged.
Yeah.
Now, we now know the message of Elijah, and we know the signs which show us who Elijah is. One, should be hated. Two, to receive the greatest opposition ever by everybody. Because Christendom has been told that there's no more prophets. That's the very first opposition. The next thing that will show who Elijah is, it is therefore only to be expected that the predicted Elijah will be denounced as a false prophet, perhaps even as an antichrist. Or listen to that. Read for me for that page 7. Listen, these are the signs. If you want to, it's not very hard to find who Elijah is. We have seen all the signs and symptoms of showing who Elijah is. Greatest hated. The message we know, it is the message of the festivals, which are the statutes, and the judgment, the dailies. These are all the messages which came from Horeb, which we have been told. Look for those, remember those messages. Then, who then is this Elijah? One should be most hated, right? Greatest opposition ever in the hatred, right? People, Sister White clearly says, people will say, let me tell you, let me show you how to preach your message, right? It's not acceptable, comes not in an acceptable manner, which people are expecting are used. Not even acceptable gender, which people are used. We know where to find Elijah. We know the signs and symptoms are there, written in black and white. Then the next sign is, read on page 7. Mm-hmm.
It is therefore only to be accepted or expected that the predicted Elijah will be denounced as a false prophet.
What? Denounced as a... Are you being told you are a false prophet? Or you are the best of best and the church is full when you are there? Then one thing is, you are wrong. It's together with Luke chapter 6, verse 22. It says, go to the Bible. Luke chapter 6, verse 22. It clearly says, when everyone wants you, chapter 6, verse, start with 26. 26, okay. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Woe unto you!
Woe unto you!
When all men shall speak well
when
of
the
you.
whole church is filled, ready for you.
For so did their
Because
fathers
they did the same thing
to their false prophets.
to the false prophets. That's one sign and symptom. You are a false prophet. Because it's like when you find people who are calling you to come and preach. Next thing, you're just at the door entrance, you find there's none, or maybe 2 or 3. The rest have run away. That's the proper prophet God is talking about. But if everyone will come in number to say, today there's so and so, woe unto you, if every man will like you. For they did that to the false prophets. Now let's go to verse 22. What is the proper prophet then in Luke chapter 6? Yeah.
Blessed are ye.
Blessed are you.
When men shall hate you.
When men give you the greatest opposition and hatred.
And when they shall separate
and
you.
And when even they cast you out of their churches.
From their company.
From their churches.
And
right?
shall reproach you.
And also reproach you.
And cast out your name as evil.
And cast your name as a devil.
For the Son of Man's sake.
Because of the message from God. Right?
Rejoice.
Rejoice that day.
And leap for joy.
And jump if you can jump and leap for joy.
For behold, your reward is great in heaven.
Your reward is great in heaven.
For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets.
Their fathers did that to the true prophets.
Amen.
Not when you prophet, the whole football ground is filled with people wanting to hear from you. We've got a loudspeaker, even how many tens and thousands of loudspeakers so that everyone hears you preaching about Christ. Know for sure it. You got no message. You are a false prophet. But if you hunt for people left, right, and center, and only those who are ordained of God and called by God come to spend the night reading and finding out. This is what they did to Christ. This is what they did to Christ. They come, even Nicodemus, who wouldn't come during the day, came by night. That's why Christ said to him, why are you scared of coming during the broad daylight? Go and repent and be born again. Why? He couldn't walk during broad daylight scared of the Pharisees. This is how they treat the prophet. They don't come broad daylight to listen to the prophet. They try to WhatsApp or to do this. Why do you think God has formed WhatsApp groups? Why do you think God has formed the BSM TVs and TV, Facebook and whatever? Did you see? Sometimes there was no Facebook, there was anything. The world it looked as if it had come to an end. But you know, We once lived like that without Facebook, without WhatsApp, and who was struggling there? It's the prophets. The prophets were struggling because their doors in the churches are blocked so that prophets don't come. When they come, nobody listens to them. But the only thing God enhanced so that the prophets will have also somewhere to offload the burden from God is WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. All these broad platforms God opened for the prophets because they were not even given any pulpit. Look for the pulpit. Look for the pulpit. At least the world is doing better. When they are campaigning and voting for politics, they give each other the times to advertise, each party to advertise itself in conferences, in whatever, and they give even unlimited reception from everyone to listen from each party. But not the Christians. The Christians, especially in the house of God, they make sure the pulpit is theirs and no one to preach anything not coming from them. But then where does God preach then? What is left for God to use his prophet? Where does he use his prophets? Where does he send the prophets if the pulpits will just be for pastors only, no prophets? Do you understand? That's why God has enhanced technology to open up platforms for prophets. Look at the pastors. Come if you want. Come. If you want. Come, let's preach in the platform of Facebook, and you open your own Facebook. The sheep will actually know how to distinguish a message coming from God and a message coming to entertain them. They know that. If you want to, you have no problem looking for Elijah. The only thing is you should know what message Elijah brings. Second, you should know who is being hated most. Third, you should know the prophet will be called by names. Listen to that page 7. Listen, which names are there? Listen to the names. Page 7. Right? It is therefore only to be expected. Right? Read.
That the predicted Elijah will be denounced as a false prophet.
Right?
Perhaps even Antichrist.
What other name? Listen.
Offshoot. Or whatnot.
Or whatnot. Do you have those names? Check who is being called by all those names. 1, as an Antichrist. 2, offshoot. 3,
false prophet.
All these satanic names. Look for somebody being called by all those satanic. It's there in the spirit of prophets. All the words that we say every day, provoking people who are preaching about God and calling them offshoot and calling them Antichrist. It's in black and white in the spirit of prophets. God saw it before we were born. But now said, these are the signs and symptoms to landmarks pointing. If you are looking for an Elijah, find someone being called by these names. Now let's hear more on the same paragraph, the next paragraph. Moreover, yeah,
the old devil has already put all his forces to work.
Right?
Piping pleasing tunes to lure.
The other thing that makes Elijah's work so difficult is the devil now has already put all his forces to work. Look at the house of God. How many pulpits are there on a Sabbath? Not on a new moon. On a new moon we are the only ones. Don't worry, we are the only ones. But on a Sabbath, check how many pulpits. We are being told that moreover, the devil has put all his forces to work. They are working, these pulpits. Piping pleasing tunes to lure truth seekers to climb aboard his golden band wagon. Its glittering tinsel of truth is already beguiling many with his ways, while his captains and generals are to the top of their voice shouting their hallelujah, Holy Ghost, gift of healing, this and that and that. Is it not what is happening in this pulpit? The devil is also, like he did in the time of Moses. When Moses was sent to Pharaoh, he had a rod, and he cast the rod on the floor, and the rod turned to be a snake. And Pharaoh said, no, that's very small. That's very small. I also have the astronomers, the witches, all these soothsayers. He called them. Yeah, the witch doctors. He called them. They came also with their rods and put their rods on the floor, and the rods also did tend to be snakes. But the pleasing thing is that the snake of Moses swallowed all those snakes. You see, these people, the wizards, soothsayers, they went home without snakes, without rods. The rods had been swallowed by Moses' rod. This is exactly what is happening. The devil has also put these piping or pleasing pulpits. These are the snakes. Yeah, coming also say we have messages. They're preaching pleasing tunes to the people so that they entertain them, so that they don't listen to Elijah's message. This is what is happening. Piping everywhere. You can admire some of them, admirable, they only those who are in Elijah's message are able to prove that these pulpits are just preaching nothing to convict anyone. It's just a show off to make sure people are pleased with the body languages and this and that, to show that we are also with the Holy Spirit. This is what happens. These are the wizards of the day. So the sayers coming with their rods to make sure they also do what Moses is doing. But the thing is that Moses' snake swallowed them one by one. The message itself of Elijah will show credential and authority from above to show everyone the truth as it is, and with evidences from the Bible. If I take example, the Lord's Supper, and I would show you from the Bible where it is found in Exodus chapter 12, where it was instituted by Christ in Matthew, where it is commented by Sister White in Patriarchs and Prophets, and all other books in the Spirit of Prophets, to show it is on the 14th day at evening. There is all that evidence. That's the snake of Elijah. But ask the soothsayers and the wizards where they get that these supper now tends to be lunch. There is nowhere in the Bible that you can now turn it down to be lunch. You can take it as lunch at 11. There's no, thus saith the Lord. There's no way. And what do you think is that? Is where the snake of Moses swallows the snake of the wizards and the soothsayers. We swallow with only one thing. The safety is in the scriptures. Amen. And thus saith the Lord, is where the snake, the rod from Moses, swallows the rods from the soothsayers, which have no thus saith the Lord. Did you hear that? Now here, let's hear. That's the one fact that shows that Moses, the Elijah of the hour, he has already been, he has to permeate the pulpit, like the pulpit of BSM TV. It has to go on. While the soothsayers' pulpits also are having pleasing piping tunes, and they even, you can listen and marvel even the songs when they're singing, like they're seeing Christ coming, walking down the sky, when they're singing, only to entertain you, so that you don't come to listen to the message of Elijah of the hour. You understand? Now listen, let's go to the next paragraph there. This will be the devil's deal. Listen to that.
This will be the devil's deal.
That's the devil's deal. What is the devil's deal? What? Of making sure there are other rods to fight the rod of Moses. Did you hear? These other soothsayers. That's the deal of the devil. When BSMT will say live now, it's going live, you hear other pulpits also saying live. If you say it's at 10 o'clock, other pulpits say also 10 o'clock. Some even go, if you say we meet on new moon and Sabbath, some even say, no, not even new moon and Sabbath, we meet every day. They open every day. That's the deal, the devil's deal of the day, to supersede the message of Elijah. Did you hear that? Now let's hear more. Where we have one rod of Moses to swallow all these, is ask which pulpit is open today on the first day of the 8th month as a new moon is. It says in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 22 to 24, it says, from one Sabbath to another, and from one new moon to another. That's the order of heaven. Now come and find out which pulpit is there on the new moon. The soothsayers are not there. The wizards are not there. They are all gone. They are lost. That's where the rod of Moses, as a big snake, swallows these other snakes. Swallowing. Why? Because across the world, which pulpit is working today? It is for Moses, for Elijah of the day. That's where we gain. The word of God is where salvation is. It is thus saith the Lord. When people find you today saying it is a Sabbath, blessed Sabbath, all the wizards are confused from the Facebook when see blessed Sabbath, the wizards and the soothsayers, they are saying, they are wondering what is going on. This is how the rod of Elijah, of Moses, will swallow the soothsayers and the wizards. Yeah, and let's hear more. The next paragraph, right? This will be the day, the devil's deal. Listen to that.
This will be the devil's deal.
Yeah.
While the day of God is approaching,
Right.
and while Elijah is making the announcement of it.
While Elijah is working very hard, announcing the coming of Christ, the devil's day is to make these piping pulpits trying to counterwork Elijah's work. Do you understand? Next paragraph, let's hear. Nevertheless,
one's only safety
when there is all this tirage. What is your safety?
will be in the teaching of Elijah.
The teaching of Elijah's message with the statutes and judgment. That's where you find comfort and safety. Listen to that.
For there will be no other voice of timely truth
No other voice of timely truth
and authority
to
whom one may turn.
Right?
Any others will lead their victims blindfolded into perdition.
Any other voices apart from Elijah's message is just like giving your hands together so that they are tied, and also giving your face so that your eyes are covered and you follow blindly. This is what these other pulpits are doing to you. Do you understand? This is from the Spirit of Prophets. It's telling us how the judgment of the living will be preached. It will preach. God will never silence these pulpits, these other ones. No, he knows he's fighting with the devil. This other pulpit will not be told the whole time, be silent. No. God will just act with one pulpit. It will be only for you to get safety from the message from Elijah of the statutes and judgment. That's the safety you could have. Whether anything comes, whether pestilence or whether tornadoes or the world is shaken upside down, the only message which will give you security is Elijah's message of the day. That's where God will be operating. Now let's hear more on the next paragraph. It's a lovely one. We are now reading from L4 comma P, page 10, space 34. That's where we are, right?
No priest or prelate can decide for you who the Elijah may or may
Some
not
are
be.
waiting for their priests. Priests
Prelate.
or prelate. No one will say, come to me, come, let me tell you. Come, you want to know where Elijah is? It's there. No priest or prelate will come and convince you where to find Elijah. This is from the Spirit of Prophets. No one will come in, not even your mother or your father or your sister will convince you where to find Elijah. It will be only the voice of the message of Elijah which will save you. Now listen, no priest or prelate, read on.
No priest or prelate
Right?
can decide for you who the Elijah may or may not be.
Right?
The message he brings is the only thing to go by.
The message Elijah will bring is the only one to go by. Not even a priest, not even a prelate, no one, not even your brother, not even. This is the time where you stand alone like somebody going into hospital, like it is these days when somebody has got this virus which is going on with. Once the ambulance takes you from the door outside there, you are not even allowed to follow the victim. You are not even allowed to follow the sick person. He goes alone. And when he is there, he goes alone. You only can do is to do a FaceTime to see him, or to talk to him over the phone or over the WhatsApp. Nothing. If he goes without a phone or without a charger, you won't hear from him again. The only people who will talk to you are those who are managing him. Why? Because of cross-infection, right? He goes alone. So this is exactly the same. The same that happens when Elijah's message is going on. The pipings of the pulpits will be so many. The devil's deal, we have heard about the devil's deal. It will be all over, also trying to make pleasing tunes to say, oh, don't go there, only to make sure you don't concentrate on the sealing message. Not even a single person will direct you where to go. The only direction is where God has said in Malachi chapter 4, verse 4 to 5, that I will give the message of the statutes and judgment, and I will raise someone. And someone is to come. Spirit of prophecy confirms all that. That's the only safety. The message is the only one to go by. Not the reference. I've seen some foolish virgins. They go to make references and ask somebody, can you please help me? I don't understand. I don't know. The only people to ask is the very people who have introduced you to Elijah's message. That's the only people to say, show me from the Bible, from the spirit of office, where is this point? Those are the only ones to go by. Because they will point you not to their brains, but to the Bible. But when you go to these piping pulpits, they point you to the that says men, or that says the church policy, or that says what. But when you want to win the judgment of the living, you should be pointed to a that says the Lord in the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. That's what is going to save you in the last day. Otherwise, if it were possible, the devil was going to deceive the very elect. How? Because there are so many piping tunes, all coming from the same house, piping. They are all around the Pharaoh. Pharaoh calls them and said, come on, wizard, come on, astrologers. Also show that we got also the rod. The rod was thorn, and then Moses' rod was a big snake which swallowed all of them. How does Moses' rod swallow them? It swallows with a thus said the Lord. You prove your point from the scripture. You prove your point from the Bible. From the Bible and the spirit of prophets, you are home and dry. This is what to go by in the time of judgment of the living. If you go to this music, there will be several of them. Go to the Facebook if you want. Everyone is singing everywhere. Singing. We were not told that to the singing and to the testimony. We were told to the law and to the testimony. You should be a reader. Singing is good, but go to the law and to the testimony. Then you know where you are. God has not even given all these things that we are coming to show that we are now ready to go to heaven, because now I know how to sing tenor, or I know how to sing a bass, I know how to this and that and that. If you go by those, you are seeking, your eyes is cast to the sand instead of to the rock. The eye should be facing the rock, to be strong with the rock. And thus said the Lord. Not all these other funny things that we are being given by the devil at the time of the judgment of the living. No way. But let's hear from the spirit of prophecy. It should guide us where to find Elijah. How then? Because we were told the vineyard, the fence has been opened. God is saying, now I will send you Elijah, because I've opened up the fence, and there are thorns and briars there. Babylon is fallen. It's got all the gods of the deceitful birds and hypocrites and everything. Now it is going to be hard for the people who are going to get go through the sealing of the judgment of the living. For them, they should be guided where to look, how to spot, where to find the message of the 5 wise virgins. This is where, because if you go by the general message, which is for both the foolish and the wise, that was Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. Third angel's message has church militant. What is church militant? Both wheat and tares together, growing together. But the harvest message comes only for the 5 wise who are adding up the oil, topping it to their lamps. For some are not topping it, they are just stagnant with the judgment of the dead, which is on verse 9, third angel's message. Judgment of the dead. Even the one who proclaimed the judgment of the dead, Sister White, third angel's message, is dead. So it was judgment of the dead. But here we have a message. Who should preach in the judgment of the living? The messenger should also be found living. Did you understand? Those two phases should go into your medulla oblongata. Now let's hear more on the next one, the next paragraph.
Likewise, irrespective of considerations of personal faults,
right,
frailties, and failings, Elijah's message and movement will be the only God-sent ones,
right,
the only ones to fear, to love, to stand by, to live or to die for.
Right. Likewise, irrespective of considerations. What considerations do we have? Some consider gender. Some consider, oh, you are not dressed like this, or you are not whatever, you are not this and that. Irrespective of all that, irrespective of all the frailties, of the faults you may talk about, of the failings, of the frailties, or maybe you are too old, or you are too what, or you are too this and that. Irrespective of all that, or you are an offshoot, or you are a devil, or you are an antichrist, or you are what? The only thing is that the movement of Elijah will be the only God-sent one, the only one to fear, to love, to stand by, to live and die for. Did you understand? Next paragraph. No. Yes.
There will be no other shield when heaven opens.
Like it is today. The only pulpit to go by is BSM TV today, because it's got a Sabbath of the first day of the 8th month, Sheshvan. Ask it anyway, you won't find it. Ask which month we are. They will tell you are in September, or in October, or in January, or in what. The only person who will tell you that we are in the 8th month is Elijah's message. That is the only one to go by. That's the only God-sent message of the hour. Now listen to that.
No, there will be no other shield when heaven opens and the storm breaks in,
right,
all its dread fury upon the world,
right,
to unavoidably pour down its lethal lightning from the skies.
Right. Behold, I will send
my messenger, Elijah the prophet,
right,
and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple.
Right, page 12, General Conference Special.
All may for a surety know both the day and the Elijah as he proclaims it.
Right.
All will see that no one but Elijah can proclaim the day.
Right. All will see. All these prophets, they are piping the day of the Lord. And you ask them, which day are you talking about? They say the day of the end, where we hope in the cloud. Then you know that for sure there's no Elijah there. There's no Elijah. But the Elijah who will be there will be preparing the way for God to come and establish his kingdom. So preparing how? Teaching the people the laws that are going to be there in the kingdom. Which laws? The statutes, the commandments, the judgments, and the testimony. This will be there in the kingdom. So the Elijah, they will know who it is, and they will know which message, and they will know how to prepare those who are going to be sealed by Elijah, who has been promised. Did you hear that? Now let's hear on the same chapter is talking about on page 19 there. Joel's 2 chapters. Yeah.
Joel's 2 chapters give us a most compact and vivid view of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Listen to what it is.
From these alone, we can clearly see what it is like. And as Elijah comes just before that day begins, he must necessarily be the one who is to interpret these prophecies of the day.
Right.
And who consequently announces that the day is at hand.
Right. So why does God raise Elijah? He's the only one going to unmask these prophecies. Otherwise, people are having the Bible every Sabbath, going with it, with all the prophecies of Joel, they don't know. All the prophecies of Ezekiel, they don't know. Isaiah, Jeremiah, all these prophets, they're saying the Old Testament is past. What they know is the church manual. What they know is the church manual, the church pamphlet, nothing more. But let me tell you one thing. The job has been preserved by God for Elijah all the time to unmask these prophecies. Now we're enjoying what Isaiah has been talking about, the song God is singing for the church in Isaiah 5, verse 1 to 7. You heard it. And we are enjoying Ezekiel chapter 23, Ahola and Aholipa. We are enjoying Hosea chapter 1 and 2, where we see Goma, the war dome of Goma, of having children who are low army, and low Ruhama. All those prophecies. Who is going to unmask them? It's Elijah of the day. It's Elijah of the day. Did you find anyone in those locked churches? Did you find anyone who can unmask them? Have you found anyone? Then it can't be a mistake that there are two Elijahs. There should be one Elijah who has been left by God to unmask all these prophecies and bring them to the people, to take all the writings of the five messages, 5 angels' messages coming to the people who are only going to be sealed. Not those who are not being sealed, but those 144,000 who will receive the 3 seals. It's the job of Elijah. You know, I can talk and talk and talk. Shall we continue on Sabbath? We'll continue this on Sabbath. Hopefully, when we come, we have fresh minds. We have enjoyed the day, and being a Sabbath of the first day of the 8th month of the year, the month Sheshvan. We are in the 8th today. It's October is the 8th month. And then we will have November, which is the 9th. December will be the 10th month. So you will be able to distinguish who is Elijah, who is Elijah's message of the day. They will be calling on that December. There will be some will be saying 12. Well, Elijah is saying it's the 10th month. So it's easy to identify where to find Elijah and how, and the message and the voice of God. Not alone, not everything that people are commenting and casting the greatest opposition of Elijah, of the day. We have been promised. So we'll continue with this until we are properly sealed. We'll meet on Sabbath to talk about who Elijah will be and what are the signs. What should we be doing while Elijah is doing his work? What messages? What are the messages? What is the reaction of the people who are sealed? What is the reaction of the people who are not sealed? This will be in our tip of the fingers. We will hold it like I'm holding a cup, and hold it and say, this is the truth. This is not. This is the truth. May God bless you, and blessed feast and blessed first day of the 8th month.